Good morning, and
Morning,
welcome.
Kate.
Good morning, Peter, and welcome to the third Everyman video now, which is great, interviewing lots of people involved in Everyman. So welcome, Peter Harding-Roberts. So how
Thank you
long
very
have you
much.
been with Everyman, Peter?
I joined Everyman in the autumn of 1982. I
Wow.
came to Cardiff in 1981, spent the first 12 months getting drunk every night, and then I joined in 1982.
Wow. So obviously you've been with Everyman for so long. Have you got a favourite role, and why do you think this is your favourite role?
I, I, I was very grateful that you gave me a bit of time to think about this in advance, and I found it impossible to bring it down to one role. I ended up with two. One was a role I played 24 years ago in the Sherman when I played Alan Turing.
Oh.
That was an amazing experience for many reasons. It was an immense role. I think I had about half the lines in the play, over 1,000 lines.
Wow.
It was really truthful to Alan Turing's life.
Mm-hmm.
And it was ultimately a tragedy because he committed suicide.
Yeah.
It was directed by Rex Plowman.
Mm-hmm.
It had originally, in fact, been directed when the play was first put on in Stratford by a gentleman by the name of Clifford Williams, who happens to have been my father-in-law's first cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I never quite managed to sum up the courage to invite the great Clifford Williams to come and see it. But Rex Plowman did manage to get two of Alan Turing's cousins to come and see it.
Wow.
And it was also an amazing role because Turing had a bit of a stammer. I didn't know what his stammer was like. My mother had had a stammer. And I did the whole play with this amazing stammer, which I had developed, which became a real stammer. And it was physically exhausting. It was an amazing experience because it was an amazing play.
Mm-hmm.
From the sublime to the ridiculous, the other part I absolutely loved playing was, I think it was 11 years ago, when I played Mr. Toad in Toad of Toad Hall at the
Yes,
festival.
I remember that.
I know a lot of people sort of probably just think I'm just a comic actor, but that's why I felt that I couldn't just pick one of those two. Toad was just such amazing fun. And again, the other similarity with Turing, and I was 12, 13, 14 years older, incredibly physically exhausting.
Mm.
Absolutely wonderful, wonderful piece of fun, being directed by Simon Futty and working with Greg Owens and a fabulous cast.
Yeah, it was a great production. I actually saw it. So when did you actually realise that you wanted to be involved in drama?
That was when I was a little bit younger, when I was at prep school,
Mm-hmm.
when I was 12, and I was cast as Lady Macbeth.
Oh, nice.
And I got I got quite good feedback, and I mean, as a 12-year-old, it was just an amazing buzz. And at the age of 12, it was the only thing at that age I wanted to do with my life. Things didn't pan out in the way that they might have in other circumstances. I went on to a public school, which closed the theatre the year I got there, and I only ever got to be on the stage once in my entire time there. So eventually I came back to it when I was in university, and have done it as a hobby ever since.
Oh, right. Okay. How interesting. I didn't realise it's such a journey at that particular time in your life. So
Yeah.
obviously you've been with Everyman for a long time. How long have you been directing? Did you
Well,
start directing in Everyman, or did you direct before then?
I first directed when I was reading law at Leeds, where I was. I plus a sign of things to come. I ended up as president of the theatre group of the Dramatic Society of the university, and I directed something called The Ballad of the Mary Lloyd by Vernon Watkins, who was a great friend of. He was. I think he was a friend of Dylan Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was probably a friend of Richard Burton's as well. A great Welsh poet, and it's a great piece. Perhaps I should revisit it. The Mary Lloyd is something that was taken around houses on New Year's Eve. I can't remember it terribly clearly, but that was the first thing I directed in about 1977 at Leeds.
Oh, wow. How interesting. So how long have you been directing for Everyman then?
For Everyman, I have in fact only directed twice. The first time I directed was, I don't know, probably about 10, 12 years ago, when I directed Loot in Chapter. Yeah, that was the first time I directed, and then the second time I directed was, of course, 2018 when I did Journey's End.
Definitely saw that production, a great production. So do you prefer, now I want to go back to you performing on stage rather than directing, but so do you prefer actually performing indoors, or do you prefer outdoors? Is there a difference for you?
I think in terms of sort of pure performance, maybe indoors is more perhaps more intense.
Mm-hmm.
When you're acting outdoors, you have to use much broader strokes in terms of your acting, and the truth of the matter is that the festival has an extra layer to it. Acting out of doors, it's just, you know, the hugeness, all the people involved, the camaraderie, and just the fun.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was going to say you don't really have disasters indoors, whereas of course outdoors you can have thunder and lightning. Whereas
Yes.
in fact, when I played Alan Turing many years ago, 24 years ago, in Breaking the Code in the Sherman, all of the lighting rig crashed one night. We had to do the whole thing under house lights. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely love acting in the open air. But if it was a dramatic role, a powerful dramatic role, and I mean, powerful dramatic stuff, I think doesn't really belong at the festival so much, and people just come out, they want to be entertained, and the more challenging stuff, my personal view is better done by Everyman Theatre indoors.
Right.
I love both.
Right. Now, obviously, we see Peter Harding-Roberts when he's, you know, the chairman or the chairman of the festival committee, or performing or directing. But what do you like to do in your spare time? What's your favourite pastime when you're not doing all this drama or his involvement? What do you prefer to do?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, ranting on Facebook.
Dear.
Ranting against the world, ranting against everything, arguing with everybody, upsetting people who shouldn't really take things too seriously. But yeah, ranting on Facebook. Although, I mean, during the lockdown, I thought, what are all those books I never read? And then I realized I never read Oliver Twist. So I have been doing quite a lot of reading, trying to catch up on the classics that I should have read when I was in school.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So you're a bit of a reader. So at least when people speak to you now, they can say, what book are you reading at the moment then, Peter?
At the moment, I am reading this.
All right. Up all about, it's, how interesting.
Too Much and Never Enough, Mary L. Trump's book on her Uncle Donald.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of scary.
What an interesting
having just read another book about him, the infant, the toddler in chief, both quite scary books. And in fact, the toddler in chief ends up with a quote that says something like, "Thank God that during his presidency," it came out last year, "he hasn't had to face something awful like a confrontation with China or a global pandemic."
Oh, right. Yeah. Interesting.
Chillingly prescient.
Right. So let's go back now to your performing. I want to ask this question in two parts, really. Is there one production that you would really, really like to be part of and play a part? So, and also, is there a production that you'd like to direct? So do you want to answer first? Is there a particular part that you'd love to play?
Well, one has to be realistic as one sees the 7-0 just over the horizon. I mean, I think of all the parts I'd love to have played, all the parts I dreamt of playing when I was in school. You know, Richard III, Octavian in Antony and Cleopatra. There's so few I could get away with. Could I find a director brave enough to cast me as King Lear? I don't know. I doubt it. In fact, when I played Mr. Toad and Richard Watson played King Lear, I said to James Williams, who was directing King Lear, what are you going to do if Richard falls ill? You have to have a fallback plan. And he said to me, you're my fallback plan, Peter. I thought he had to be taking the mickey. But I guess I don't know, I kind of love to play. I suppose I love to play Iago. I mean, that's the part I never wanted to play. You know, I never wanted to play King Lear when I was a kid, thinking when I was going to be ancient, but I always wanted to play Iago. I always wanted to play the villains, plays that I'd like to direct. I mean, you know, one likes to think that A Man for All Seasons will happen next year.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else in my mind that I'd really, really like to direct? I suppose maybe have a bash at Hamlet.
So very, very Shakespeare focused, actually, which is
that's me. I know my Shakespeare.
Yes, great. So finally, we can't really talk today without mentioning the festival. Obviously, Cardiff Open Air Theatre Festival 2020 obviously hasn't taken place. So what plans have you got now, and how are you looking in relation to Cardiff Open Air Theatre Festival 2021? So where are you with that?
If anybody Googles Cardiff Open Air Theatre Festival, one page that should come up is a Google page, which is free. And if they go into that page, they will see that I have already announced all of the shows and all of the dates for next year. They might think that they're looking at this year. If they look very carefully, they'll realize that because there's 365 days in the year, I've had to change the dates by one day.
Right.
I've already been in touch with our partners. I was in touch with the WNO some time ago. They said they were keen. I've been in touch with the South Wales Gay Men's Choir. Been in touch with the Affinity Choir. I'm waiting to hear back from both of them as to whether they can confirm the dates. And I've been in touch with Amnesty and with Clint Edwards about Stand Up in the Park. So, I mean, when I take into account the fact that the leaflet is already effectively designed, we're going to use this year's designs. And here we are in July, and I've already announced next year's dates on the internet. It's great to be so incredibly in front of where we normally are. And all the directors are in place. You know, hopefully they will all be available. I'll get in touch with the designers in due course and ask if they want to come back. So hopefully, and everything's cast. There may have to be one or two tweaks here and there on availability, but essentially, we're really, really ready to go.
Yeah, great.
And the great thing would be it being a return of theatre. You know, if we get, I mean, we had a wonderful response from the public to our appeal. I think we've collected over £4,000 on the public appeal.
That's great.
It would be great to think that the public will then flood in to see what. Let's make it the very, very much the best festival ever.
Yeah, I've also heard from Menna Tussler, and she's very much looking forward to coming next year as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I've sorted that as well. Well, thank you for talking to us today, and it's been a really insight into Peter Harding-Roberts as a person, not only just as the actor and the director. So thank you very much, and best wishes from all of us at Everyman. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you very much.